the University of Washington Palliative Care Center of Excellence. And unfortunately, both have died way too soon. But so much of the legacy of the work that we are doing now comes from them being change agents by literally looking around themselves and recognizing that status quo wasn't going to work. And I think they and I will make the argument that if you are here in the palliative care zone, you are a change agent. Part of the reason probably why most of you are here is because what we do most of the time isn't the best care we could offer. And what we've learned over time, and the reason for the rationale for third quarter, is because if we teach you to be the best clinicians that you are and we send you back into the broken system, you too will break, actually pretty quickly. And while many would wish for another 10 weeks of very deep communication skills training that will continue, we have found that you can take these skills to sort of the next dimension, which is really kind of happening more at the systems level. So if you remember, we had kind of talked about how in the fall and the winter, we were kind of focusing on the interprofessional, interpersonal level, but that now where we're shifting is trying to think about a broader systems level. And I will make the argument that when we go to make change, just like you guys said in your open sessions today, I want to say that everything you talked about in the leadership and the buy-in, in the resistance to change, and even in some of these internal and external barriers, those are all things that are going to be very much what we're talking about in third quarter. Because in order to create the systems that will deliver the care that we are now skilled to deliver, we have to change those systems. And I'm going to try this, the way that the sort of third quarter is organized is to help you, much like we've just done in terms of perspective taking. We want to ask you to take the perspective of those around you when you're thinking about doing problems recognition and problem solving. So we know that you are all expert problem solvers. That's you've spent years training to be exactly that. But what we find is that the kind of problems that leaders and clinicians at sort of at the system level are dealing with are relate to your daily activity, but they have a different set of worries and concerns when they're trying to run the house, basically. And so, you know, often what happens is that wherever you are situated in the organization, you're looking around you and you're sort of seeing some problems, and then you're immediately coming up with some solutions. And what we're going to try and do in third quarter is stop that instinct for you to jump to a solution. Because I can imagine, how many of you have ever had to do asbestos training, right? And so somebody decided that we all needed to understand about asbestos. So somebody decided that the way they were going to do it was whatever way they were going to do it. And now we're all mandated to take asbestos training. And probably not very many of us care that much about it. But, you know, so we're stuck with all of these reasons why we must do these things. And therefore, what you mostly get back to, if you think about that power position of the one up and the one down, asbestos training is now in the one up position. And we're going from everywhere to being supportive to opposing and rebelling. You know, we're just not going to get that thing done. Or we're going to write them and tell them what a stupid waste of time this is, right? So there's, what we're trying to do is not decide that everybody must do asbestos training. What we're trying to figure out is what is the right problem, and then what's the right solution to that problem. So, I mean, I'm going to give us an example. So get your chat fingers ready. So we all kind of saw this. This was the early days of the pandemic, where this is how people showed up. This is what was really going on for that lady. So I want to ask you, what do you think is the problem that we would want to be solving if this was all the information that we had about this lady? So just write in the chat, what's the problem we're trying to solve here? Whatever strikes you. Okay, they're coming in. We're talking about her workspace. She needs some office space. She needs some kind of work-life balance. She's got to do something to improve her productivity. She needs a better desk. She needs some support. Needs a much better work setup for her ergonomics. Anna G keeps asking if there's a problem. I'm going to go with her. I'm not sure we know what the problem is, right? Because this is also sort of the perfect example of a ladder of inference. Like, we're looking at this part, we're probably agreeing, yeah, we've been there. Some of them, nobody on this one last year, they were like, she needs a house cleaner, she needs a babysitter, maybe she needs somebody she needs Uber for dinner. Like, there are all kinds of things that were coming in here, and these are sort of when we are projecting ourselves onto this situation. And so the question is, does she have a problem? It's a good question. So sorry. What we're going to be doing in third quarter is adopting the user design perspective. And it is very much like all of the inquiry processes that you've been doing about personhood and exploring story, except we're kind of doing it at an organizational level. And so when we're thinking about whatever problems it is that we're trying to solve, and you guys already got started with a whole long list of them. So everything that you were talking about in open spaces would be fair game to be engaging around this. But it's sort of looking around you and thinking, you know, what is in my realm to change that would actually make a difference? And before I plan out the whole thing and do it all by myself, my first thing is to stop and go ask everybody else who might be touched by whatever change that looks like, and make sure that that's a change that's worth making. It's even the right problem, because we might name up the wrong problem. And then B, making sure that they are contributing to the way that we're conceptualizing both the problem and the answer, because when we do that up front, we don't have to sell. There's no buy-in required because they named it. They owned it. So that ownership begins if you make those investments to be inclusive from the start, when you're starting to think about what is the problem and what are the solutions. So we basically get a whole quarter to play around with this idea. And at the end of it, where we're going to get to is that you will be creating a proposal, and that is all it is. We want to actually slow the process down and invest our time in having you do all the homework that goes into thinking about a change project, whatever that might look like. And they go from really small, like I want to train the four people on my team to use nurse statements. We get a lot of people doing that. And honestly, if you do that, that's a big change, because what starts to happen is you've already quadrupled your skill set. You've already now got 4 people that can do this skill. So then you can start to, you know, grow and share and disseminate. So you don't have to start big at all. Because really it's kind of like what we call a training wheels project. We'd actually like you to go through this kind of user design cycle as a practice. Maybe you've done it before many times. Maybe you've done pieces and parts of it. And if you haven't done it quite this way, we're going to invite you to try. We will be offering lots and lots and lots of support for this. And much like we've done throughout all the quarters, we are going to be laying out the pieces week by week. They build on each other. It's a very intentional process, so that you can be gathering all the tools to come together for bringing an idea to what the point of the workshop will be, which is all about a pitch. So this is a little bit about, like, for some people, if you were going to start a new service, this would be like doing the business plan and then meeting with leadership to pitch your plan. So this is sort of thinking through what are all the different things that might go into some kind of a project, and doing all the homework in advance. And then when we get to the workshop, we will also be training you how to do a pitch. So just like everything else we do, we're going to give you all the tools and lots of room for practice. And the reason that we're emphasizing this as a way to really slow it down is that problem solving requires power sharing. And much like us going in with, this is my idea, this is my plan, who wants to get on board? That is actually kind of a power over move. And so this idea of pulling back and asking for input before we've made any final decisions is how we power with those around us. Because if we can institute small incremental changes instead of big gigantic changes, we can bring people along in smaller steps. And then that ownership can have far more opportunity to flourish and therefore succeed. So just to give you just a quick overview and not to overwhelm, these are the kinds of things that we're going to be doing. And while they look really different, they all involve communication. And that communication is really with your systems leaders and your users. So if we begin to think of them compassionately the same way we do about our colleagues and our patients and their loved ones, this is sort of where we're going to go. And mostly what I want to tell you is you don't have to worry about this now. The only thing that you really need to think about is, where is your passion? And what are some ideas that when you look around, and maybe in the next few weeks, if you do anything, it's like, what would be within your physical reach to make a change? So you're not going to boil the ocean here. You're not going to, do something major. So keep it local, keep it small, and keep it doable, and be open to some curiosities. These are a couple of frequently asked questions that I get. Do you have to have a project right now? Absolutely not. Many people evolve this in third quarter. But as you look around, note what's catching your interest and sort of what is igniting your passion. We're not asking you to actually do the project. The only thing we're asking you to do is write a proposal for that project. Again, we'll give you lots of structure for that. We highly encourage group projects. So if you don't have an idea or you want to work with others, just let us know and we'll find you partners if you don't already have one. And if you have anything going on in your organization where they say, gee, I wish we could do this, then we would highly recommend you align with that. And lastly, we do our workshop in quarter 8, and everybody always says, I wish we could do this in the third quarter or the third week. And we say to them, it's because if we had you come in with a pitch before you'd done any of the planning, you wouldn't have the same pitch. So we're spending the time up front to encourage that you go through all the steps so that when we come together to bring it all together at the end, you've got everything that you need to have. So with that, this is really the bottom line for you. It's a long day. Don't want to freak you out about third quarter. If you have any nervous Nellies about it, send me an email as soon as you do. If there's one thing I do really well, it's reduce the fear and anxiety around this thing or any nervous Nellies. We got your back. You are enough. And with that, I will be happy to take questions.